And welcome to the Unity Now podcast, episode 27, with our special live Valentine's Day edition. My guest today is Sarah Darville, fellow Unity 2020 member. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, guys.
So you are a fellow Unity 2020 volunteer, and I think co-lead of our music channel. And I think you correct any of this if it's wrong. Ended up coordinating the campfire karaoke sessions with the Unity 2020 volunteers. So give us fill in all the blanks on your background, and also, if you could, how you got to the Unity 2020 movement.
Cool. You got it. It's exactly that order. So I got involved with Unity 2020 because of Joe Rogan smoking pot with Elon Musk. Like, ultimately, that's what happened. So that was kind of like my introduction to the Joe Rogan experience. And I, afterward watched a lot of the intellectuals that he spoke with. I had a job that allowed me to just listen to podcasts all day. They kind of encouraged it. So yeah, I, for 2 years now, have been listening to members of the IDW talk about various things. And then, people with differing opinions from them also. And I really like journalism a lot too. So I listen to a lot of independent journalists, Matt Taibbi being one of my favorites. Plenty more. I really like Rising because it's kind of like a succinct way for me to get my news in the morning. So programs like that, personalities like that. I really like Kim Iverson. She's a bit fringe sometimes, but I kind of like that. I like, when people throw in interesting opinions with some data in the background. So yeah, that's kind of, and I'm a biologist. So I'm going back for my master's right now. I just got a wilderness first responder certification this weekend, which is why I'm snowed in to Washington, which is why we're doing this on my phone. So yeah, and I've been focusing a lot now on kind of the anthropology side of biology. As weird as that is for me, I wasn't expecting to kind of delve into that realm. It's actually, I always stayed away from the humans in biology. I was more into fungus at first. And then I've now moved into plant DNA barcoding, which is what I'm going to be doing for my master's. But I've now gotten really interested in the humanity of biology. So that's where we're at with the music.
Okay. Well, that's great. Thank you. And you talked about a lot of things there, right? So wilderness and biology. How does that all connect there? It
actually really.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's all connected in just, being a human. It gets you back down to kind of like where we came from. So, for instance, Bret Weinstein, the, founder essentially of Unity 2020, he's got a book with his wife, Heather Hine, coming out, Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century. So it's kind of that. It's kind of incorporating this whole human side of our society. We have built an infrastructure of internet and, buildings and wonderful things that we do need structure, but we need to incorporate now some of this kind of love. What a great day to talk about it. And human connection, humanity. We've kind of forgotten that. We've almost, now when somebody says something, we instinctively want to disagree with them as opposed to agree with them. So for instance, now the way that I look at it is, if someone says something that I don't agree with, and it's someone that I kind of like, I'm more inclined to now think better of that idea because the person that's saying it is sane to me. I appreciate this person as a person. Whoa, that idea might be out from left field and I don't understand it at all. And I don't relate to it at all. But I can appreciate it a little bit more because I like this person. I think this person is sane. And that can extend out to that person's whole group that believes that weird thing that I don't necessarily agree with. This is the harmony we should be looking for, as opposed to reflexively wanting to block that person on Facebook or delete our Facebook because it's filled with all those people.
Yeah, that's it. I find it interesting that Bret and Heather, like you mentioned, who are basically the founders of the Unity 2020 movement, and then many members of the IDW, the intellectual dark web, are biologists, right? Bret is, Jordan Peterson is, and that
Oh, Jordan Peterson, I believe, Dr. Jordan Peterson, I think is a psychologist.
he's a psychologist, but I think he is in the
Oh,
he has the same kind of background as Bret, if I'm not mistaken. And it's
okay.
yeah, the
I might
exact
be
degree.
completely
It's leaving me right now. Um,
okay.
but it's
Something along the lines of evolution, maybe, or something like that.
evolutionary
Developmental
biology.
evolution.
That I think that's it. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
sweet,
evolutionary
cool.
biologist. That's right. Thank you. So, and it's
Got it.
so fascinating how, and maybe it's somewhat because of the postmodernists wanting to leave science in the dust when it comes to
Hmm.
how we look at things, and they know a lot. They know better than to do that, and so that's why they see the science side of it, but the humanity side of it. I was on this past Thursday. We filmed an episode of Unity Now with the filmmakers of an upcoming documentary called Better Left Unsaid. And the
Hmm.
writer and director, his name is Kurt. He talked about how many of the topics he explored in the film. The film is about the extreme left and the polar divide, and he actually goes through in this documentary, like visually describing how we got to where we are. And he did it in an
Hmm.
analytical way. And one of the things at the very end, he told me that he wished he could have covered was love, and the fact that that's a missing component in this extreme divide that we have. And he's a very analytical person. You could tell in the way he kind of described things in his conversation. But it was interesting that he brought that up right before I'm sitting down with you on Valentine's Day, and you're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, that's cool. I got it from people like Heather Hine and especially Chloe Valdry and her theory of
Okay.
enchantment. And so that is a big component of this, how pop culture is a huge factor in getting people on board with something. Matt Taibbi talks about it in saying that we should look for the common humanity within, especially with things like, for instance, the human rights movement was so successful because they incorporated comedy, they incorporated music. What we're doing now is eliminating those things by censoring. We're saying you can't say this, you can't say that, no more using that, sound from your mouth. It's crazy. What? You're telling me I can't say something? I can't say it? I can't think it? That's going to drive people underground. So that's not the way to handle. If you want ideas to become, you know, if you want ideas to go away, you really need to pick them
Right.
apart so that people understand why they're not working, as opposed to expecting people to just take your word for it. That's not how you handle it.
Yeah, it was fairly comical, but also disheartening that toward the end of this documentary I was talking about, and this isn't out yet, but we can send you a link if you want to check it out. It's really relevant to the Unity
Mm.
movement and what we all talk about. But it's funny, toward one of the parts he inserts is Barack Obama, of course, sometime in the past, talking about cancel culture and online trolls attacking somebody for saying something they disagree with in much the same way you're talking about, instead of going to the heart of the matter and arguing it with truth and facts. And he just kind of makes a lighthearted, oh, I said something about you, look how woke I am, and he's joking about this culture that now is taking, it's of course getting worse and worse. We
Yeah.
had a Disney star this past week get canceled because of something she shared on Twitter.
Hmm. Somebody made a joke about that on my Facebook feed about how, oh, cancel culture, now we have to attack Disney, in kind of like condescending way towards anybody that would feel that would be wrong. And I was like, you just don't understand what this extends to at this point. Because sure, right now, your favor, you like the way that this is going. There you know, the whole gang is against your enemies. So this looks great.
Right.
But just think about when it flips on you, because it will. And in fact, we find that in these especially far left groups, very far left groups, you find they attack their internal people. Like they go after their own people. And those people will sit there and apologize. I've seen it so many times. They'll put out an apology YouTube video. I'm so sorry for what I said and who I associated with 10 years ago. I just, I never would have known in the future,
Yep.
you know, that things would change. What are we doing? And then we were approaching okay in the 90s. Like, I grew up in the 90s, so we were approaching like an okay time. And then we just started regressing again in that realm of particularly race lately. And it's just, it gets inflamed, and the media really does do it to kind of, and not kind of, and I don't know that it's like a concerted effort. It's just, this is how it plays out. This is how evolution happens too. It's not like there's any end game in mind. Nobody's really pulling any strings. This is just what we're doing to ourselves. We get really excited about things that are, you know, sensational, like murder porn, you know, like that's what people get excited about. That's what people watch documentaries on. My sister is like super obsessed with, you know, CSI and all those kinds of shows. She loves detective shows. It's interesting because they like try to like make it to where, you know, you feel like you could solve the murder your own too. These are puzzles that we want to solve. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. We want to play games. So solve different puzzles is all I'm saying. The puzzles that we're trying to work, the games we're trying to play are spiraling us into this weird toxic behavior in a lot of different realms, a lot of different realms that are controlled by a lot of different institutions.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, solve different puzzles. How about yourself? Start with the puzzle that is you, which a lot, you know, and I can speak for myself in this matter. You know, a lot of us don't touch on that enough. And, you know, people think they can feel better by solving the world's problems, and they can go on Twitter or social media or whatever it may be and solve those problems by joining a mob and calling people out, or, you know, like, was it Chris Harrison or Chris Harris, who's I think he's the host of The Bachelor, Bachelorette, Harrison. And he's the latest victim of that exact scenario you just described a minute ago, where if you had to pick or, you know, decide or guess where he lies politically, you'd probably lean left, if not extreme left or hard left. But he said something, he got out of turn, and he's now canceled and had to issue a 3-page apology on Instagram. And it's the exact scenario. I don't know if that's what you were talking about, but that just happened.
Oh, yeah. It is.
Yeah, I didn't know if that's the scenario you were talking about, but that's certainly happened.
Well, that wasn't, I mean, I wasn't particularly talking about that exact one. Like, I don't know that particular person.
It just happened. Just this week, yeah.
Didn't know. But look, I make predictions now. I could literally read your horoscope with your capitulation in the future if you are, you know, that far left. And if you are, you know, I was too. It's easy to be there because it's potentially, like, you think that you're like in this noble position, but as I've fortunately always been kind of like on the forefront of the wave of any kind of like revolutionary movement. So with this one in particular, like, I saw it coming, that I was more condescending than it was anything, to say, oh, poor you need my help because I have all of this, you know, privilege that I don't. Nobody listens to me. You know what I mean? Like, I do understand. I for sure understand that there is something to this that we need to fix. There are things about our society and the way that we see things and the way that we treat people that is not okay. I'm not saying that that's not the case, but, you know, it's not a thing where I'm able to do anything about it, and much less it isn't my place to do it. And there's nobody in danger in that situation. I got a wilderness first responders to help people that are in danger. You know what I mean? And I will, if that were the case, that I was walking up on a riot and somebody was on the ground, I'm going to help whoever it is. I am not in a position where I can give anybody any power in society unless it's through a network, which is what I'm trying to do now. But I just, simply don't have that on my own to kind of like go on Twitter and say, I've tried now. I've tried to like even just swear my way out of getting attention. I've tried a bunch of different ways to try to get attention. This music thing has been the best thing to get people to pay attention to this message, which is there's a lot of institutional issues that Bret has highlighted that other people have highlighted. They're doing an excellent job, and they're in this movement called the IDW, whatever. And there's plenty more people that are getting involved in it. And so we need to bring attention to it.
Good. So with that being said, let's maybe get into the music a little bit, right? We said this would be a lighthearted music sort of episode, and we're talking about the IDW. Those guys can talk for 3 hours on Joe Rogan's podcast and get really deep into subjects. But tell us a little bit about music and what you've done with, the Unity 2020 groups, and then maybe we can hear some tunes from you live.
Yeah. So with Unity Music, I got put in charge simply because I was really involved on the Slack. That was the guy, I think it was Chris, an organizer, maybe from San Francisco, I think, something like that. Anyways, Unity 2020 wasn't planned to work, I don't think. I think it was planned for us to see just how quick it could pop up, though. Because all of us were on board thinking, wow, this is really like, we could do this. This is potentially possible.
Yeah.
Depending on how I word this. Okay. So, but we kind of knew that it might not work. But the whole premise behind the music was to just get some culture going. We had heard a lot of people, especially Bret and Heather, refer to being around the campfire and how important that was culturally, things like that. This was just really important. And it made people want to be a part of it. We had this guy, you've interviewed, Joe, Scarecrow Joe, that came up with this amazing rap. So that was cool. Danette Beavers, who's in Chile. She probably would not pronounce it that way. She's amazing. You guys have had her on. Her voice is incredible. Will, you guys know Will. He was right on board with the whole idea of this being something a little more... a little less rehearsed, a little less polished. Karaoke is a great idea because it involves comedy into music. Comedy in and of itself is really great. We've got people that come in that just say limericks. We have people that come in that do sea shanties. So we have like a good group that comes for karaoke. It's a lot of fun. I'm broadcasting live from my friend Pester and George, that's their usernames, on Discord. Great place to be. The Dark Horse Discord. Yeah. So that's kind of like where it stemmed out of. And so I'm at their place in Washington. We met online. This is the first time we've met in person. They're great people. They're housing me because I can't go home. So it's great. Like the connections that I've made through that were just really so good that I wanted to kind of spread it out. So I'm working on some things with some people to try to make it bigger than just karaoke. But that was the premise.
That's great. Yeah, and it's great that you've been able to connect in person with some folks there. And so shout out to those guys. Thanks for helping you out there.
Yeah.
And it looks like we have some live chat going here. We have fellow Unity Now podcast member, Gabe Garber. Gabe is in charge of our music. He says sick tunes. That's his way of saying you're going to play some sick tunes, I hope. And Voodoo Drew, come to karaoke at 8, everybody. I don't know if that's somebody that you know of.
Yeah, that's the host. That's Delaware Drew. He's the host. Will also hosts with us a bit too. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. They're there. It's so cool.
Yeah, we had you might have been, I don't know if you meant to do this, but you mentioned basically one full episode we did with Scarecrow Joe, Will, and Danette. And I was lucky enough to host that. That was a lot of fun. They had some great custom Unity based tunes. But I like your idea too. So what are you going to karaoke for us today?
Oh yeah. this is your selection, right? I'm gonna try to do I Won't Give Up by Jason Mraz.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if you
Okay.
want to take any more requests, but if anybody wants to put in the live chat a request, we can
Sure.
try there too.
I can give it a shot if I know it.
Okay.
I could definitely do this one, and then they'll see how it comes through on the sound. Okay.
Yeah, sure. I
Good?
mean,
Okay.
I think everybody is used to these remote podcasts now, so.
Okay, here we go. So this is how we do karaoke. We just play the music in the background and just sing with it. Sometimes it comes through bad, but that's kind of the fun in it all. So.
All right, here we go.
This is Jason Mraz. I Won't Give Up, the karaoke version, so that we don't get in trouble, hopefully.
Hopefully, with all 20 or 11 viewers, whatever it may be.
Sorry. And this is a fun thing that always happens. It's ads. They're so disruptive. And I turned my yeah, there we go. Okay, here we go. Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
There's another ad. So
Gotta wait on the Spotify ads.
That's how all the karaoke start. I really hope this sounds good.
Yeah, the music sounds good.
And when you're in your space, to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. 'Cause even the stars, they burn. Some even fall to the earth. We die alone to learn. God knows what no, I won't give up. I wanna be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. My differences, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts we got here. We got a lot at stake. The end is still my friend, at least we didn't temple, we didn't break, we didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world giving in. I had to learn what I got, what I'm not, and who I am. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my
All right.
There we go.
One last ad.
So that's how karaoke goes. A little out of tune, a little off kilter, but it's good.
No, it was good. Yeah, and it's a little hard to hear you when you're singing the softer versions or the softer parts.
Yeah.
So maybe on the next
good.
one, I don't know if you have a speaker close to the phone or whatever it is.
Yeah. To be honest with you, next time we'll have a better setup completely.
Yeah, no worries.
And this is a little makeshift today.
Yeah, that was great.
Thanks.
Did you want to do any more or take any requests, or you want to leave it at that?
I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it at that for today, just simply because I don't have a good microphone. You guys have me set up with this one that's recording. It's going to sound amazing in here, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that'll be on the audio version of the podcast. That's our great sound engineer, Todd. He does all that and manages the sound. He probably cringed, or he's cringing this whole time on our. It's Skype.
He's so mad.
It's
right
Skype,
now.
yeah. So it's sorry, Todd. It's Skype.
Sorry, Todd. I really I did that one because you requested it. I'll be very honest. I didn't actually want to do anything, but you asked.
Okay,
so
I appreciate it. Yeah, we looks like you got a couple requests, so we won't even talk about them then.
We'll say, hey guys, come to karaoke. It sounds like crap, and I can't have all this recorded.
That's right. There's the plug right there. So Unity volunteers, go to the music channel and join karaoke, or join the movement at articlesofunity.org, and then you can get in on the music channel.
Yeah, I do have some other plugs if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm on Clubhouse and I met this guy named Kenny, and he is, I believe, a solar panel engineer. I really should have looked this up before, but Kenny and I are working on a project where we're going to incorporate music into the IDW in like a way more exciting way, and a way more I guess somebody that's actually capable of music. So now we've seen that my limitations on music are very much evident. So what we want to do is kind of transition me to my comfort zone, which is more on study abroad, which was kind of like the reason for getting the wilderness first responders. But first things first, Kenny and I are going to release a promo for a project that we're working on together. We've collaborated on. So we'll be releasing that pretty soon. But in the meantime, if you guys want to add us to Clubhouse, add us to Instagram. You can find him on mine now because I've linked him today. He's my featured intellectual kind of influencer. So go ahead and, go check that out. I guess we could provide my handles to everything for everybody. And so, yeah, that's exciting. That's something that we're working on to try to, increase the volume and increase the number of people that are getting involved with Unity's music and comedy.
That's great. Yeah. And that's another thing about Unity. It's like it brought tens of thousands of people together, and no, it didn't work like you mentioned, but what the volunteer base is spreading out and doing since then, now that we're not dealing with at least an election, there's plenty of other political topics we could touch on, but maybe we should steer away today. But
don't get me started.
And so you're working on this project. You working on the wilderness, the project, and then you're heading to. Was it Guatemala you're heading to, or you want to?
No,
Ecuador. That's what.
Ecuador. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
My professor works on. My professor at Columbus, I guess I could say that, Columbus State University. They like me. They like me a lot. My professor is named Dr. Kevin S. Burgess, and he's been working with the global community lately and for nearly a decade now on DNA barcoding for plants. So the thing about it is we've got a lot of information about plants, but we don't really have kind of a base to reference. And so they're just collecting plant specimen and putting this into, they'll, break down the plant matter in this processing method that they use and extract the DNA, and then they can kind of put that into like a database to reference for things, which is really cool. Well, one of the professors that works down in Ecuador is actually he's lived in Ecuador his entire life, is very familiar with the jungle and has discovered lots and lots of different species. His name's Alvaro Perez, and he very well could have now actually uncovered an entire genus. So the project, hopefully, that I can get on is helping to determine whether or not he's discovered an actual genus of plant that grows in Ecuador. And so my kind of passion has always been systematics and taxonomy, which is taxonomy is kind of like how you label species in any of the kingdom. So I started in fungus. I really liked using fungi for remediation. It's called mycoremediation. So I did a project where I used fungus to remove a perfume, I guess you could say, from water. And this particular like scent could cause birth defects, and it would bioaccumulate in breast milk. So this was a problem, and we wanted to break it down. And the chemical itself is very similar to the chemical structure of TNT, which is like boom, which is what my professor said when he introduced the idea. He worked a lot with TNT, and so they're called analogs, these two molecules. They're very similar. There's just one little thing that might be different. They're analogous to one another. So the analog to TNT was called musketone. Musketone was this perfume that was in the water that was bioaccumulative. It's called a teratogen that causes birth defects. So I wanted to break down this teratogen, but it's a very strong structure, just like TNT is a very strong structure. My professor at the time had used bacteria to break down TNT. And it wasn't a similar mechanism that the fungi uses, but it's actually a fungus called Pleurotus austriatus, but it's better known as oyster mushrooms. So they're very tasty. They taste like steak, but they also have what's called extracellular digestion. So they, instead of having enzymes that break down a particular substrate, which is usually the case, usually enzymes are very specific. This throws grenades essentially for its digestive enzymes. It just throws, and whatever it can extract from that, it will take away. So it's very ideal in this kind of in this situation where you're breaking down something that has a very difficult structure to break down. Okay. So anyways, I started with fungus, moved into plants, and just very interested in how they're all connected to us through DNA. Very interesting.
Wow.
So that's what I would truly like to be involved in. I know much more about that than music.
Well, maybe we're going to have to start our Joe Rogan-esque podcast now, and I'll tell my wife here to get comfortable. We got another, 2 hours to go.
Yes.
You touched on,
we might.
Well, I'm going to totally geek out here because you touched on barcoding technology and taxonomy. So my day job is in records management. That's my career. We use those same terms. We barcode everything we store, and whether it's physical or digital, and we use taxonomies all the time in describing simply records. So how do you use barcodes with DNA?
That's really cool. Well, there's particular places within DNA strands because, DNA is a lot. There's a lot of information in DNA, right? Because you and I would be very, very similar in DNA, even though we look completely different. So there's little segments of DNA that are indicative of evolution for a plant or a species of any kind. You can see in this portion of DNA, this is different among these species. So species A has in this spot, are you familiar with the codons? So I don't really remember if that's what they're called, but G, T, A, and C, or, for DNA, for a strand of DNA, you've got those. Oh gosh,
No, you're fine. Okay. No,
it's not
just Yeah, this
Well,
is your specialty.
DNA is
Yeah.
there's a lot of information in DNA. There's just a lot of information there. So you can take a segment and it will tell you at what point this species evolved.
Oh wow,
Basically,
yeah.
it's almost like the instruction manual says, here now you've now instructed for this new plant. To put it
Yeah.
simply, it's more complicated, and I'm not explaining it well because I'm just not that well trained. I'm just entering this master's degree, so I've got bachelor's degree level understanding, right? But it's really cool. It's just these barcodes work in a way in which you can differentiate between species by this particular part of the DNA strand. That's the barcode.
Okay. Is that a physical like label, a printed barcode, or a digital barcode, or?
They're kept in a bank, like a gene, I think it's called Gene Bank or Gen Bank. So it's like a computer program where you can access all this information. Basically, what it will do is pull up the. Now I want to look it up, but I'll get lost in my computer if I do that. These somebody might have even put it in the chat if they're smart. What those things are in DNA. There's a strand of DNA, and G, C, A, and T are the things. I think they're called codons, and then you've got three of them, and they code for something. I really wish that I just knew the terms off the top of my head, but I've been in the wilderness for a week, so I'm going to give myself some credit. I dissociated from all of that stuff, but very so. The physical form of it would be that you can access that information through a database that is online. That's kind of like your physical
Yeah.
form of it. That's as physical as it gets. I mean, you certainly can hold the plant matter and the little test tube that you put into the centrifuge, get that DNA, extracted from it. So that's
Yeah.
that's your truly physical form of it. But you don't know what that says until you send it off to the people in charge that do all of that sorting with the computer to I mean, it's really interesting because I'm a medical coder, so this translates well to that. Even I translate right now medical situations into insurance codes, so there again, it's just another like translation, just kind of like yours. It's just we now can translate, but we now need to have the database in order for people to refer back to, because we're leaving a lot of people behind on these things. And that's why the technology is kind of like not able to keep up, because not enough people with enough variety of ideas are able to move on with the charge. It's like somebody's speeding out ahead as a scout and they've got great ideas, but they need to kind of get everybody on board with the jargon that they're using. And so here, this is a perfect example. You're asking like, well, where's the barcode? What? How are you barcoding plants? Well,
Yeah.
it's a process of going out into the woods so that essentially maybe one day you could have this app on your phone and you just point it at this leaf and it can just, instantly tell you what this plant is. It will have essentially Alvaro's brain programmed into this computer that can do just what he can do and identify a new species if you wanted it to, or really what you would want it for is potentially to replicate it in medicine. Ethnobotany is a great field that I'm very interested in. So that you just want the bank there to be able to refer to it for projects later. But it's hard for me to say what the physical form would be. I hope I've explained kind of like some
Oh
ideas.
yeah, that's
Trust me, I have no idea what I'm talking about. So
no, that was great. Yeah, I only ask because when I think of barcoding, they can be digital, but usually it's a label to reference you back to something digital in a database or something like that. Like everyone sees in stores, a UPC barcode on a product you buy at a store that references what that is and the cost and all those things. That's fascinating that it's somehow applied to the DNA of a plant or to biological things. So you're talking in this database millions, right? Billions of data sets.
I'm sure. I couldn't tell you that for positive. Like I haven't looked at it, the whole database, but I mean, for instance, with a project that I was working, I went through like 5,000 lichen samples. Lichen. There's 5,000 different types, and these are different samples, so it's not necessarily different species, but samples of lichen. People just going out collecting lichen and barcoding it. So, yeah, it's an extensive database, and there's multiple universities involved, multiple organizations involved. These are the kinds of things people should know about. This is the kind of like, this is why there should be some sort of public source of like information in the science realm, public access, open access. Peer review is an issue, to say the very least. And so this is something that we could mitigate potentially. Here's an idea. Oh, I'm just going to throw this out there. You could just publish people's titles and abstracts for their research. You then have to request the full paper from them, and then you've built a network. This is what Clubhouse is doing. It's building a network. If you're smart on Clubhouse, you're not going to the big rooms where Elon Musk is talking. Like you would go to the small rooms. Like, there are people, the understudies to these big figureheads that everybody wants to talk to, the understudies to them to talk to, because they don't have the ego. They're probably the introvert. And I'm not saying that the ego is bad. It's necessary to get the word out. But there's also a lot of introverts that are active on Discord, on Slack. Those are the people, these Clubhouse people, need to be going to talk to. And now today, Bret Weinstein, for his breakfast with us on the Dark Horse Discord, gave out a Clubhouse invitation for kind of like a little raffle. And that's a great idea. Those should be like, if you want, make them like a freaking scholarship or something. Yeah. I don't even like the prestige idea. I really do hate it. That's my whole premise for publishing research before it's publishable. You know what I mean? Just putting the abstract and the title out there. The whole reason is because you just eliminate that like, you just need that connection with the right people. And it's going to be the people that are interested in what you're interested in that should be reviewing your stuff, to put it to the pedestal to go get peer reviewed. Anyways, there's a lot that we could do here with databases and barcoding, and just simply having the information available to people for a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, the telomeres story with Bret specifically, right? You talk about peer review and what happens there. I mean, there's a whole can of worms. I'm sure. Really? Well, I assume you know about that, but do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Do you want, I mean, maybe you could explain it for people, but like, it's very interesting how that is a model organism that is basically corrupted from the beginning. Your entire project that you work with any of these mice is corrupted from the beginning, because they've now been bred in a way where they are just not this whole haphazard idea that you need in science. You need for your model organism to not be flawed in the way that these are flawed. They are bred improperly to be able to assess whether or not they are actually good for multiple drugs that go out, you know? So it's controversial. It's like because you're upending a lot of things when you talk the way that Bret Weinstein talks, the way that Eric Weinstein talks when he goes into the Clubhouse. Eric Weinstein will come into the Clubhouse out of breath because he's been walking his dog, and is talking to people about people that shall not be named in makeup and toner conversations, as I've seen. So I went into Clubhouse thinking I was going to be a Hunter S. Thompson style journalist, and I was just going to shit on all these people for being in there. And then I ended up liking the people that were, doing the not doing the actual work. I give full credit to, all the people that have been intellectually influential to me. It's happened a lot. A lot of these people are intellectually influential to me, and they are voicing their opinions in Clubhouse. That's why it's such a great place to go to finally hear them speak to people that need to hear it. I am a little bit perturbed that they spend a bit more time than I'd like trying to convince mainstream media, as opposed to getting involved on their Discord. Now, it's changed a bit recently. As of late, it's been a bit different on Discord, so I appreciate that. And I think that should continue. I think these people, rather than trying to convince the masses, need to get just like what Bret was trying to do with Unity. Do the grassroots thing right now. For like, we don't even have to get politics involved anymore. That's the best part. We know that that's a whole sham. We'll let them have their pageant show, They want to march through the halls of the White House. We'll let them have it. Whatever. We're going to fix things over here when Clubhouse meets Discord. I've written a couple of essays about this. I believe fully in Discord as a networking option, because I can leave one server, go to the next server. I've got Tulsi locals. I'm trying to get them together. I'm their reluctant dictator right now as we wait for someone to please join and fix it for us, because I'm just trying to gather people, you know? And so Discord's a great place to be. Anyways, I've gone off on a rant, but there's a way to do this databasing thing. Discord could very well be involved in that.
Well, to wrap it all back to the theme of tonight's episode, love and humanity, reaching out to the humanity in people, which social media kind of tore away our ability to connect with people in a truly human form, in person. And then all this is peaking and you add in a pandemic where we're not supposed to be around people. So it's nice to hear. I've heard a lot about Clubhouse lately. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's only on Apple devices right now or available. So I don't like Apple devices, even though I'm looking at you on an iPhone. I only use that for work. So that's the only reason I've personally steered away from it recently. But it's good to hear that it's helping put the humanity back into people. And from what I hear, people are a lot less divisive and trying to tear each other down. And maybe a part of that is because you can hear each other's voice and it's not just words on a screen, right? Is there something there?
I'm a little bit more cynical about why it might be the case. I think that the invite idea is a bit pretentious, in my opinion, but it works. And this is kind of like how these successful portions of a social media platform pan out. There's going to be a point where this becomes the same as any other social media platform. They're all talking about it. So the thing about it is right now it is Apple only. I literally switched to Apple to get the app. Okay, so that's all I'm saying is there's a pretentious nature to there being an invite only, and so everybody in there thinks for whatever reason somebody has a reason for being there, and I think that has more to do with it than it being, oh, we can all talk, because we can all talk in Discord too, and we can get a little bit more done there.
Well, that's true. And you're right. Discord and Unity, at least in my experience, I'm not a big Discord user except for Unity, but in my experience, it is much different than just going on Twitter or Facebook. I don't go to Facebook anymore really, but I'm on Twitter, but I'm only there and I know what I'm seeing. And I have that view of reality first when I get into there, but okay.
Yeah, check out some servers in Discord, Awakening from the Meaning Crisis, the Coffee House Academy. There's quite a few that are really good. There's Bret and Heather's is private. We do that through their Patreon page, but there's a lot of Patreon people. So there's a lot of Discord servers to get involved with. And I think that this is where the magic happens. You just have to be willing to kind of put yourself out there and not wait for somebody to ask you to do something. Go ahead and put your work up, and then somebody will approach you, most likely. Like, you don't have to put yourself out there and tell people, hey, look at me. You can put yourself out there and people will start to notice.
Do you put any karaoke or music on there?
I've done the music and stuff. I especially put Danette and Will kind of on a platform. I just try to boost all my people. I'm a networker. That's what I do. I'm an organizer and a networker. So if I know people, I'm going to try to boost them. That's what I've been doing a lot of. So I put a little bit of music. Used to be I put videos of me up where I'd like try to sing a song and then mess up halfway through, because I've been playing ukulele for 10 years and have made little improvement, but my voice has improved a bit. Not lately because I've been out in the cold and things like that, but I put up a little bit of music. It was mostly just kind of me goofing off to try to get people to laugh a little. And I should mention, like, the vulnerability is the key. If you offer up vulnerability in conversation first, people are like, I just sang to you guys. I know I suck at singing. That's not that great. But I do that because I'm offering this vulnerability to you to say, okay, like, if you're willing to do that, then I'm kind of more willing to have a conversation with you about anything, because it's almost like how dogs approach you and like get on their back. I'm not like going that far
right.
by any means, but it's just a little bit of submission in this conversation as opposed to approaching with aggression, I guess. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like how it feels right now, because I don't want to come at people. I would like for people to, I would like for us to all approach each other a little bit more with a little bit more of that humanity that we were talking about, and just be kind to one another. Offer up the niceness first. If somebody if somebody tramples over that, then fine, have at it. I like to love my haters, because if you do, then you've now removed any power that they have over you. And that's not even what they're trying to do. People don't like you because they are projecting something about themselves onto you. And so that's what you just have to understand. And if we all just kind of recognize that hurt people, as opposed to thinking that people are out to get us, we're going to get by this whole thing a lot better.
Well said. Sarah, I think that is a perfect place to end it.
Me too. Thanks for bearing with my broadcasting issues.
No worries. We understand that. Like we said before we started, Skype and Zoom and all these things are great when they work and when your internet works. So, it kind of is what it is. Are there places people should reach out to you, connect with you, emails, social media, Discord, Clubhouse, that sort of thing? Go ahead.
If you go to my Instagram, which is at Sarah with an H, SARAH _ the letter U .S, that's United States, then you can find all of my handles on that Clubhouse. Like I have my highlights reel, so you can just flip through that if you want to. And then Kenny's on there today. He's my featured influencer, so please go follow Kenny too, because we've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. So yeah, that should do it.
Awesome. We can't wait to see the project you mentioned and how that comes out, and we'll maybe have you back on to talk about that if you would like. Hopefully you're not snowed in when that happens.
I think I'll get out of here probably Tuesday.
Okay. Well, have safe travels, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye. This has been the Unity Now podcast. Join us on our next episode, and from now, we'll see you then. Thanks for tuning in. For more conversations and content like this, be sure to subscribe to the podcast wherever you prefer: Apple, Google, Spotify, etc. If you prefer to consume your podcast in video format, you'll find full episodes and clips on YouTube. Follow the Unity Now podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram by clicking the links in the description below, and be sure to sign up and get involved at articlesofunity.org. Bye.